Hey, hi, it's Amy Lang with Birds and Bees and Kids. And I am just going to chat a little bit about how to know if a child's been exposed to pornography. So I just want to start with this fact that every child will be exposed to pornography at some point. Most average age is about 10. So here's the thing. Most of the time, you're not going to know because most of the time it's not traumatizing to the child. It just has a minimal impact in terms of their behavior, what you might see. And so that's a bummer, right? But there are some things you can watch out for. And the other thing too is just assume they're going to see it. Like, don't even bother to pretend like they won't, because someone's going to show it to them. They're going to get curious and Google something, and it just happens all the time. And so here are just a handful of things, and I'm going to kind of do it age by age. So with the really little people, like preschoolers, what you'll see is, I'm going to pause for a second. Sorry about that. I just had to do some administrative stuff. Anyway, so with little people, the babies, it doesn't really matter, doesn't really impact them per se. So it's really hard to know. I mean, it could be traumatizing to see because it can be loud and scary. But with folks who are preschool age, verbal, can draw, what you might notice is language, really adult-like language. You might notice that they're drawing pictures that are adult-like sexuality, and you'll know that when you see it. They also might become more withdrawn or aggressive, like they just might have a big behavior change. And so I do just want to side note that a lot of this is your gut. And also, it also is some symptoms of or indications that a child's been sexually abused, because porn exposure can be sexually abusive. So, so with little people, some behavior change, their sexual play may be very adult-like. It used to be that I would say, this could be actual sexual abuse, physical sexual abuse. Yes, true, but also now the first place I tend to go is to porn exposure. So that's what you might see in that age range. So when we get to sort of middle elementary school, so let's just talk like 7 to 10-year-olds, kind of more of the same stuff, behavior changes, drawings, adult-like language. I just did a class last night, and the same topic for parents. And one of the moms said that she caught her 9-year-old demonstrating. Sorry, if you don't know me, I say all the things. So demonstrating oral sex to his brother and joking around. Right, he's 9. This is something you really shouldn't know anything about, and he'd learned this from another kid. So you might see some kind of goofy in their minds, and the way they do it, it might be kind of goofy and silly. Behavior like that. It also might be serious and predatory. I don't like to use that word with a child, but they might be trying to act out what they've seen. And then the other piece too in that age range, and then kind of beyond, if topics of sexuality come up, if a parent's trying to talk to a child about sex and that kid just gets overreactive, is like, I don't want to hear that. I can't believe you're talking to me about that. I know everything, gets really angry and really big, hard pushback. That can be an indication that they've seen porn. They know that it's sex, and it was traumatizing to them because A, it's not for kids, and it can be really freaky. But B, they think that's what sex is. So when your parents trying to talk with a kid about sex, they've got that in their head. And I don't know, if I was that kid, I wouldn't want to talk about it because it's awful. So the other thing with kids in that age range is that you might not see this kind of stuff. I would just listen to their conversations. And one of the things for you as a person who works with kids is, if you hear language, you see a demonstration, is to really calmly and kindly say, hey, I noticed that I heard you say this, just curious about where you heard those words, really calm, don't direct the conversation. I mean, I know y'all know about how to handle conversations if you suspect a child's been sexually abused, right? Or I'm assuming you do. If you don't, I can help you. So very calm, where'd you hear those words? Correction around, like, those are really grown-up words and not okay for kids to say. and then see where that leads. And you can say, have you ever seen any videos with those words in them, or, you know, something like that? So you just got to poke around a little tiny bit. So you have to be super careful. So kids who are older, so 12, 13 up, this is where things get really hard. So as a person who works with kids, you know them pretty well. So again, we're looking for behavior changes. We're looking for any kind of real strong reaction to anything that's related to kissing, dating, sexuality, anything like that. You know, for a 14-year-old to talk about something like 69, that is not necessarily a red flag, because of course they've heard of that. Now they might not know what it is, but they've heard about it. So, you know, your job when you overhear something like that is to just be like, hello, you can't talk like that. Do you even know what that means? Now, as a, as their, the person that is in charge of them, you can't define it, right? You can't say that this is what this is, but you can say, hey, you know what, you need to talk to your parents, or point them to a safe resource where they can get that information. Sometimes because kids trust you, they may be more likely to tell you that something's happened. I believe it's okay for you, when you're just having interactions with kids, just to say, hey, have you ever seen anything yucky or creepy online? I'm just curious about what's going on for kids. And that might be a way to help them talk with you about this. So here's the thing about this. It's epidemic. It's epidemic. Like I said at the top, just assume kids are going to see it. Again, the average age is about 10. They're not going to make it out of childhood without seeing it. And so as an educator and a fan of kids, you need to hold that in your head and talk with parents a little bit about it. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is that parents are in this space where like, oh, my kid would never, oh, of course not. We're super safe online. We blah, 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 blah. Like they believe their kids would never do this. But my advice to everyone is to put your 10-year-old hat on. And you've heard the word sex and no one is talking to you about it and your friends are chattering. So what do? You go online and you Google sex. And if you're not at work and you feel like pretending you're a 10-year-old, Google boobs, do any number of parts, anything, and see how long it takes you to get to porn. It takes a nanosecond. And so my point here is that parents are in denial. A lot of adults are in denial, and they forget like our innate curiosity. Kids' innate curiosity can absolutely take over, especially with that developing brain of an adolescent. They don't have any impulse control. So here's my thing for you. What you can do is to check in with your families about, online safety. You can say, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up, this is happening in our world. Are you using any kind of monitoring or filtering? If you're in a position of power, you can send an email out and say, hey, you know what? I think it's really important that your kids, like you protect your kids online. Here are some resources. I will send some in my the recording email. You'll get those, all two of you. So you'll see like what you can do. And it's just child safety. It's child safety. And the reason I'm asking you to consider doing this, and if you're not in a position of power, maybe you can share this video and talk to your boss, is because this behavior impacts other kids. So if you're 5 and you've seen porn and you're trying to work it out, you're going to engage in you may engage in some kind of sexual play that's adult-like. And that gets complicated, right? Anyway, I could go on and on. I'm checking my time. I could go on and on and on about this. But, you're in a really great space for parents, conversations with parents, emails to parents about this, highlighting this and letting them know that it is a health and safety concern. And it can get people worked up. But you know what? I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't really care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. Like, this is important. And I believe that if every adult can just have a tiny way of influencing in terms of keeping kids safer online, it's super important. So I'm going to just lecture a few more minutes here, and then if I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have. So the first thing is the general rule of thumb and advice for the damn phone thing is 8th grade. Is 8th grade. No child needs a phone. It's a privilege. It's not a right. And so there's an organization called Wait Until 8th, and they help parents and folks understand why 8th grade is the time. Little more responsibility, life changes, things are getting, they're kind of moving out in the world a little bit more in a different way. So for your younger kids, someone always has a phone, right? And most people don't have monitoring or filtering on their kids' phones because their kid would never. And so your child is at risk for being exposed to all kinds of stuff. It's not just the porn, right? You can Google how to commit suicide and how to use fentanyl and all kinds of terrible stuff. So that's one thing. Really being clear in your organization about the rules about phones. I personally believe that they should all be, sorry, kids, you don't need it unless you're having an emergency or there's something urgent happening in your family, and then you will monitor the phone. It's going to piss people off, but kids these days don't know how to function without their screens. So that's a big thing. So if you work for a Boys and Girls Club or something like that, that's a huge deal. But if you have a smaller organization, it's good for you to do that. And again, we've lost a chunk of childhood. And then talking with families of younger kids about, how much time are you giving so again, I'm very opinionated. So I was just walking in my neighborhood and here's a dad pushing a stroller and he's on his phone and pushing the stroller and not interacting with the baby, not talking, not talking, not pointing things out, not having this, these connections with the child. And so that makes me really sad. So again, having some conversations about how important it is to be doing that. So anyway, I know you can't control them, but you can plant seeds and do this. I feel like my entire work is this. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to stop talking. Let's do a couple questions. And then when I do these pro quickies, I know, I'm funny. I do some Q&A and then I'll stop recording. And so we can just have a free for all. So if there's anything that's related to this that you feel comfortable asking that would be helpful to everybody else, let's do it. So let's go for there. I'm just going to give a minute. So my people that are on, if you want to just talk to me, or if you want to put in the chat, that's great. So thank you. Done 15 minutes of kind of ranting, educating with a rant sort of side. And I get that this is uncomfortable and it might feel like you're sort of putting yourself in a place of discomfort, but this is all uncomfortable. So I always consider being uncomfortable practice for the real world. So
I have a daughter who's in 6th grade and she's going to a normal junior high and then she drives the bus to take advanced math, science, and language arts with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. She does not have a phone, and one of her friends that's in this program doesn't have one yet either. But other kids do, and there's older kids. So I'm nervous and I don't know how to talk to her about what, she might be seeing porn on some other kid's phone or something because she says they swear on the bus.
Yeah.
And all this and that. So I'm just nervous, now.
Yeah, for sure. So do you work with kids as well, or are you here in your mom hat?
No, I'm just wearing my mom hat. I worked with her at church in the pre-K,
good,
group and stuff like that. But now I would just embarrass her if I did anything in a group.
Sure. So, so a couple things you can do with her is I would tell her to, when she's on the bus, she should be with that other kid that does not have a phone. And so they can commiserate about how evil you are because you won't give them phones. I would also give them some, so if someone's showing them a phone, one of the great things you can do for them is just to say, my mom has insane radar. She will know if I've seen something. She can look at me and know that something's up. So I cannot get in trouble with this. So she can do that. The other thing she can do is, one of my favorite lines is like, what's wrong with you? You can get just in super trouble with this. And I don't want to be part of that. And these are tall orders. And so if you can talk with her about that, have her practice. And then I would also think about where they can sit in the bus. I would say, I want you to sit in the front, because there's nothing but the driver and them. There's nothing between them. So they can everything's behind them. I would talk to the bus driver and I would say, hey, here's the deal. I know there's a lot of chatter. Our girls don't have phones. We don't want them to be exposed to this stuff. And frankly, that all should be shut down by whatever company is or organization is getting those kids there. And if there isn't another adult on that bus saying, nope, 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 nope. I don't think, the other parents, they don't want that happening. And remember, being on a bus like that, all kinds of chatter, but it's different now because it's sexualized and it's too much for them. So the other thing I would do is I would have a little conversation with the girls and say, hey, what could you do together? Like, is there a game you can play together? So they're focused on something else. And if that's not in your values, like give them things to do, like have something in their backpacks, have something they work on, anything, drawing, art, anything that they can focus on and try to ignore that. And then the last thing is that I would tell them, like, if you hear something or something you feel really uncomfortable, just tell me. You won't be in trouble. Well, I'll help you feel better, that kind of thing. And, for the organizations that are allowing that, like there's only so much they can do. I think making some noise, which is hard, right? It's hard. Right. And you don't want to be that parent, but everybody doesn't want to be that parent. So there's all this social, so there's also social pressure on the parents because you want to like,
right.
Right. And so, one of the things that I think is hard and important is to really dig into your values and then be the person who's the leader in this. Like, I did not want Milo to be, sharing porn links, and we talked about that. So it's complicated. And so I'm going to give you a little homework. So write out all of your concerns and then write out what you can do to help your kiddo, and then do a thing about what you could do that you feel comfortable doing, anything you could do to talk with the organization, and then pick something small, like pick something that feels easy. Because it takes a village, which is another way to say it. So I don't know how that lands. I don't know how that feels to you. But you can be a leader in your community because nobody wants that, right? Nobody.
Right. Yeah, no. And she has another friend that goes to a different school who's like all over her phone and it's got all the social media and everything. She has an iPad at home where she plays games, Roblox with her friends. And, we allowed her some TikTok, but it was filtered to like 9. So she couldn't search. It was totally blocked. And we tell them, don't make friends with people on there, especially if don't give out information. But she's come to the point, we had it 8th grade, and now she's kind of like, we're like, no phones are allowed in the school. You signed something at the beginning of the school, you got 3 strikes and you're kicked out. And then, so like her friend there, newer friend who goes to that school, she has a phone, but it's a little bit, I think, limited. So that's good. But now she's like, I want a phone, like, so we can listen to music on the way home, on the bus, on the way home back to the normal school. I want to listen to music and stuff. So we're like, we haven't come to how to address that. But she's like, she made an agreement with dad, like, okay, maybe in 7th grade I get a phone, and not 6th grade, but maybe in 7th, because she's working from 8th to 7th. And dad's like, well, maybe in 7th, because she's going to advanced gym, because maybe next year she'll be competing in gymnastics. So she'll be gone doing more and more. So like her friend with the phone is in competitive dance and she's doing more. So that was her reasoning initially to get her a phone so young.
Yeah.
But I don't know,
So here's another thing. And again, I know we're here for folks who work with kids. There are phones, there's Pinwheel, and I can't think of the other ones where
Yeah.
right? It's worth it.
But we already told her, no, an iPhone or nothing. No, I'm not getting that. You're not getting, like the Bark phone, Android. No way, not Android. No, I have to have an iPhone.
Yeah, she's not in
She
charge.
is.
She's not in
like,
charge. You get this or you get nothing.
and then we just go in a big yell out session back and forth, control session.
So you're letting her be in charge. She's not in charge. You're in charge. So you and your spouse figure out, like, what are our values? What are our worries? What are we willing to do? I think if both I think having a Pinwheel phone, I'm okay with that. They can't, or a Bark phone, they can only do so much. You can monitor a ton. You can like let it, like, get it, give them more broader access or whatever, and just say, here's the deal, and just let's just like, here's the deal, we're done with this argument. We want your input, we have your input, here's what we've decided. Pinwheel, Bark, nothing.
Yeah. So the good thing is, her friend, her second bestie who goes to that school, her dad's all about Android. So she has like an Android tablet. So if she was to get an Android phone, she's going to that school to 8th grade with Sophie, then Sophie will end up having an Android phone when she's in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So maybe, but it's a matter of how she can separate from her old bestie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. I mean, the problem with this time of life is that it's so much peer pressure, right? And they want to fit in and they want to feel normal and they want to have, they want that, right? And you win. You win.
It's hard. It's tough.
I know, but I think that if you can really tap into this is what's right for our family. This feels right. This is what we want for her. And then note the parental peer pressure.
Yes.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening. We didn't, like, I knew I may not have some backup here and, like, whatever, right? But we said to Milo, no phone. And we gave him, which would be the equivalent of a Barker Pinwheel phone. He had a slide out texting phone. He could get on the internet, but it was a total pain in the ass. And so we said, 9th grade, you pay for half of it. You pick it out, you pay for half of it. And he was much more respectful of it. Of course, he, dropped it and, cracked the screen and whatever. And so we paid for that. And then I said, happens again, it's on you. You pay for it. And so he did really well with that because, again, privilege, not a right. Anyway.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for all of that. And then again, if you're working with kids, pick what can you do to support parents / indoctrinate them to make these decisions. And, again, like this is the hardest thing for parents, and it's so important because it really can set the stage for what healthy sex. They think it's health. They think it's sex. It's not. It is, but it's not healthy. So thank you for all of that. I always feel like this is like, it's parenting. It's like, how do you help your kids in your community and that kind of thing. So anyway, all right. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, that was a lot. All right, so here's the thing with me. So I work with parents, and then I do work with people who work with kids. Early childhood is more of my space, but this is, people have older kids and that kind of thing. So I have a couple of classes that help with this. The primary one is sexual behavior in children and teens, so you can understand what's typical and common, and that helps you know, like, oh, this is not okay, this is safe, this is red flag behavior. I teach about how to help kids, or how to intervene. I give scripts. I give a really easy acronym. Like, I think that's the word. So you can just quickly assess, like, what's going on. Does the child need help? And the end result of that is people feel empowered. I think that for sexual abuse prevention, it's always like, these are the signs, this is the stuff you can do, but it doesn't address like sexuality in general. And so I have that option. Also, anyway, there's lots of different ways to learn from me, and I hope that this is something that's inspiring. So if you have questions, you want to support that, you want information, just you're going to get an email, and so just respond to me, and then I'll probably reach out again to see. And again, health and safety, health and safety, health and safety. That's it with this. It's a little complicated, but anyway. Okay, so if you sign up for my newsletter, then we do this. I do this once a month, different topics. Like next time, it's just going to be open Q&A. So Lisa, what we did is a lot of that. Like, what can I do? How does this work? That sort of thing. It's unrecorded, so it's very open, and people are more likely to talk and share information. So. All right. And if you're bbkpros.com is where you can see all that stuff. All right. Going to stop talking. If you need me, you can find me easily. And so let's just do a little Q&A without recording. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. And I hope to see you in the future.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.